There I am. All righty. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Midlife Mojo Monday. Hang on there one second. There we go. All righty. Welcome to another Midlife Mojo Monday. I'm here live every Monday at 2 p.m. ish. For those of you who have gotten to know me, you know ish is a very key term to my 2 o'clock because inevitably something always last minute, seems to hold me up and I'm just never seem to get on here right at 2, even though I'm sitting here ready to go. So once again, gosh knows what happened this time, but the computer has its own thing. I always joke around Casper the ghost lives in my computer and has his own mind of when to start and stop. So, anyways, I am, I do hope that you will join me every Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, typically. This month of June has been a little kind of crazy. I've had some family commitments and doctor's appointments I've had to take my parents to, and I will have to take my dad to another appointment next Monday. So I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to be back here for 2 o'clock or I'll do it later. But every Monday, I am committed to providing some kind of education, an interview, a demonstration, something that I can give you, my thoughts on a topic that I hope will either inspire, motivate, you give you some food for thought, maybe something new to try. And these are really for you. So if there are any burning questions you have, I know a lot of new people are in this group and you've joined this group because of my intermittent fasting, but this is a group not only for intermittent fasting, but for all things midlife. So go ahead and shoot me off in the message if there's any topic that you'd like to know a little bit more about, whether it be dealing with your hot flashes naturally or dealing with, having trouble, with your spouse in the bedroom. I got a little message from somebody the other day asking me for some solutions for that. So whatever you have, please message me and always helps me come up with some topics. But this week I do a topic of the week. And this week's topic is kind of dads and daughters. I see somebody waving hi and oh, I didn't bring my phone in here. So without you having clicked, there's a button to click on. So I can't see your name. So put your name in there, whoever just said hello to me, so I know who's talking to me. I meant to bring my phone so I could see. There is a place in the comments, if you look, that I added a little link. And if you click on that, for 2 seconds, it will then my streaming service will capture your name and then I'll always know who you are. But for right now, if you just stick your name, I'll know who you are. Okay. So this week's theme, as I said, is dads and daughters. And it's just really about not even just dads in the traditional sense of dads, but just, important men who have influence in our lives. And they absolutely do influence our lives, whether it's been for the good, for the bad, for the indifferent. The important males in our life definitely have an impact on how we see ourselves, how we show up in this world. And, I myself, for those of you guys who know, I'm very close with my father. My father has always, believed in me and supported me and, been one of my number one fans. And so I've kind of grown up with that. I've been very fortunate. I think yesterday was Father's Day, and a year ago, Father's Day, literally in front of me, had a heart attack and flatlined in my husband's arms. And, if it wasn't for the, incredible medical personnel, I wouldn't have been celebrating with him this year. So I am definitely, really grateful. But definitely, as I was thinking of this topic, there are definitely ways that my dad, to this day, still influences my life, my decision making, and so forth. And as we start, entering our midlife years and so forth, sometimes that shows up even more, but it also shows up as how our spouses maybe see us or say things to us or make us feel. And they may not really understand what's going on with us, in terms of some of the issues that we're dealing with, whether it be mood or whether it be physical. They don't maybe get it. And so that can cause a lot of issues. So I thought this topic, oh, Lois, hey, Lois, thanks. That link adds my name. I don't know. All right. Well, thanks, Lois. I appreciate it. Um, so, but it's not the thing is that with the men, we need to kind of start to educate them and helping us, because if they don't know what they don't know, right? It's not really their fault. I mean, why would men really know about menopause when most women don't even really know about menopause, right? I mean, nobody really in school, I don't personally remember it, maybe the word, I don't remember, but in health class talking about it, right? It certainly isn't like a casual conversation topic that people are having. Often with their own, even like mothers or friends, they don't have it. So why would we expect men to understand it if we as women either don't understand it or kind of keep it hush hush? I mean, does anybody, am I crazy? Does anybody, who's either watching now or on the replay remember having any discussions about menopause either back in school or perhaps with a parent or somebody prior to you having it to kind of give you an idea of what was to come? So it makes people uncomfortable, but by not talking about it, it really gives this wrong impression, right? It gives this impression that menopause is not necessarily a normal function. It makes it like it's some kind of disorder, it's something to dread, the beginning of the end. And I just think what a terrible message to send our children, right? Especially our daughters, that this beautiful natural part of her life is something that's going to dread when as opposed to it being something to embrace. And a lot of part of that is because there's really not a lot of positive role models around it. It's kind of like your estrogen depletes and you're out the door. And so a big part of getting our daughters to embrace this part of our life is we have to start talking about it, right? But we've also really got to get our men to start talking about it. And I kind of think to some degree that even starts with like our male doctors. So even like kind of putting aside our spouses, but when women are feeling these kind of, whether it's the hot flashes, the low libido, whatever it may be, the mood swings. I had a friend about a year ago who like literally thought she was dying, like literally thought something was wrong with her because she was so out of sorts and couldn't understand what was going on. And her doctor just kind of dismissed her instead of even explaining that what she could be going through might be a possibility and be normal. And of course as her and I spoke more, she was just entering perimenopause, but it scared her. So we really need to shed the light in that way. Even I don't know. Do anybody have female doctors out there? Do your female doctors, are they different? Mine happens to be a male doctor, and he basically just sent me home and said, deal with it until you go into menopause. Which now I'm in menopause and I'm still dealing with stuff, but just not with him. So I don't know. I don't know if a female doctor would be different, but I'm just curious what your experience dealing with these kind of conversations with doctors are. Let me take this off here for a quick second. Hide Make me big. There we go. All right. Good. So, and I think a part of this, I mean, if I'm being honest, right, are the male doctors, the men, they've been raised that we can do our best to change their minds and to talk and to educate, and we should. But really, if we can start with the younger generation and our sons and many of your grandsons and getting them to just see other men being supportive, being mindful, being understanding of the women in their lives, so that they can see that when their women are kind of maybe a little bit of out of control, that things might be a little bit embarrassing for them. They may be on this like emotional roller coaster, that it's not the time to kind of make fun of them for being hot and sweaty or make some kind of old gray mare joke or whatever it may be, just some kind of thing you see a lot of times, just the stereotypical stuff people say about menopausal women. If that's all our sons are really seeing on TV, that's what they're kind of seeing at home, that's what they're seeing their friends' dads do, their coaches do, all of that. That's what they're going to do. So we really have an opportunity, I think, in this world to really change that. And I think personally in health class is a place to do it. I mean, I think when kids are in that middle school range and their own bodies are changing, it'd be a great time to open up this conversation. Unfortunately, a lot of times health classes, they just go up to like where babies come from and like that's it. The girl gets the period and they take, right? How about this, right? And I know my daughter was the same. When they talk about the periods, the girls go in a separate classroom and they watch a separate movie from the boys. Right? They don't even like, we don't even get to like learn about each other, let alone learn about as women get older and what happens. So, at a time where there is so much physical and emotional upheaval going on in a woman's body, a lot of miscommunication can happen. And that miscommunication can lead to a lot more difficulties. And in marriages, if you've read any of my books, I talk about something called gray divorce, but that's the rise of, people getting divorced over the age of 50. And I believe it just stems from this lack of communication about what's going on for both men and women. I mean, let's not, fool ourselves to think that the men don't have their own crap they're going through also at this stage of life. But nobody's talking to each other. It's like we're still in those separate rooms watching our separate movies, dealing with things separately, instead of coming together. So something as simple as like, maybe either maybe sex is painful for you, but you don't want to like admit that, or maybe your libido isn't where it is, or maybe he's not able to perform, but everybody's too embarrassed to talk about it, doesn't want to say anything about it. And so instead, you don't end up having sex. You just end up avoiding each other. You end up finding excuses. And then days roll into weeks, roll into months. And now there's really is an issue there that was so unnecessary if we could have just, the couple could have just spoken to each other about it. So, is that easy to do? No, I'm not, I'll have a couple suggestions maybe in a minute here for opening up those conversations. But this is your life partner, and they're going, hopefully you'll be together for a long time. So if that's what you want, then you may have to force that, I hate to use force, but bring that conversation to the forefront a little bit. I think about, I have a lot of women, that I've dealt with over the years for weight loss. I mean, that's, for a lot of years. And I've had so many women who, it's because of their weight that they either they don't want the lights on, or they don't even have sex with their husbands because of their weight. Now, their husbands probably don't even care, right? But if they could have that conversation, and if they could, their husband knew where their concerns were, knew how they felt, maybe they would understand instead of feel rejected. Maybe they could, make them feel more beautiful, if they hadn't already been making that extra effort, so that they would feel comfortable. So, this lack of understanding really can snowball into something a lot bigger. And so creating that dialogue is, I think, pretty important. So I don't know if anybody's listening out there, if you've ever felt unsupported by a spouse, or even a boss, right? I mean, for those of you who are still working, maybe, women who are in the perimenopausal stage, as your estrogen is depleting, you lose focus. I mean, your memory isn't the same. You trip over your words. You're tired because you probably aren't maybe not sleeping as well. There's just a lot of stuff physically going on, that you can't help due to hormones. And so that may be affecting your performance at work. And so wouldn't that be nice if there was more education in the workplace about this? I think it was 2 weeks ago I talked about menopausa, and I talked about somebody who, in the UK, who started a whole, menopause support groups that men and women can join, at the workplace specifically, and had like kind of taken off. There had already like 15 other businesses that had taken it off, United Kingdom. So I think that could be really, something that here in the United States, I would love to see. I'm involved in a lot of groups, and it seems like the UK and Australia seem to be on the forefront of making change and really making menopause like a conversation. I know that they have just passed laws to get the topic, into the school curriculum. So I'd love to see if that's something here in this country that we could get going as well, because that's where I think the real change is really going to happen, right? Because they say kind of like out of the mouth of babes, right? Like kids like say the darndest things, and so can't you just like picture like sitting around the dinner table and like a kid like dropping so mom, what's up with your libido? And like everybody's mouth dropping, right? But like laughing about it, and then maybe it not being such a awkward thing, and maybe making a joke, and then maybe it actually becoming a part of the conversation. Especially when you say, "Where did you hear that word, honey?" Right? And they tell you at school. Well, then it kind of maybe opens it up for everybody to talk about it. And for our men, well, I think we might just, if you can't really just talk about it, or they're not really, you're not really gonna have a full sit down conversation. You could take my book, No Sweat, Just Menopause, and like leave it in like the bathroom on top of the toilet. If they're bored enough, they might start flipping through. Maybe just over dinner, it's talking about an article you saw, or talking about a friend. So maybe not you, just kind of dropping like little things about that. But ultimately, the best plan is to really just to kind of, especially if your issues are causing greater issues in your relationship and family, to sit down and just have a frank discussion. You have nothing to lose and most likely everything to gain from that. I had the reason why I picked this topic actually was I was a reporter. I asking a lot of questions, and so I was answering her questions about this topic. And so one of the questions she had around this topic about it was all about just men and kids and how can they support midlife women during these years. And then her specific question was, which I thought was interesting, was in this COVID-19 stage, of the world right now, where much of us are spending so much more time together. We've been kind of secluded in our homes together, where maybe we could have hid the menopausal messes we were, hid the crazy a little bit if that was going on for you. It may be a lot harder. Your patience you may have had, your kids always think you're patient and so forth, and now you're snapping here left and right. Whatever it may be, people they may be noticing a little bit more. And so she was asking, about kind of what's going on around that and how you can handle that. And so the answers that I came up with that one was, if you're around little kids, which most of us don't have little kids, but you may have some younger kids at home, or you watch you care for your grandchildren and so forth. And if maybe they are now seeing you being a little more emotional than you used to be, or constantly go turn the air conditioning on, grandma's hot, that kind of thing. Or they see you all of a sudden you kind of fly off the handle at them. You just kind of explain to them, just like they sometimes, don't always feel good, and they feel sad or they feel angry, and they need to let their feelings out, so does, mom or grandma, right? You can kind of explain it how, as like their bodies are changing, as we get older, mommy's body's changing or grandma's body's changing. And sometimes it makes us do things that, things like that, just relate it to their level. And then for teenagers, let's face it, then I got teenagers. They don't definitely don't want to hear about mom's menopause. I don't the book, no book, they don't want to hear about it. Mom forces the conversation a lot because it just comes. I think even like yesterday, there was some. Oh, I know. My husband is editing my latest book, which is hopefully it's not a book. It's I'm starting an ebook series, and so it's the first book in the series, and it's about different foods and sexual functioning and so forth. And so we were eating raspberries, and it was something about seeds in the book, and he was editing it, and so he was making a joke about the sexual aspect of the raspberries in my book, and he was quoting my book, and my daughter 16-year-old was dying. So they don't necessarily want to have a direct conversation about this. Some may not, but again, you can, like, just leave the book around or something like that. But um when your daughter is or granddaughters are going through their own changes, their own hormonal changes, and in that teenage years they're getting their periods or they're just having their own emotion, it kind of can lend itself to opening up that conversation a little bit more naturally. But also there are times maybe when you know just do fly off the handle. My kids, they, I don't know, they're around a lot more. And so I've been maybe, jumpy, a little bit more antsy at them. And so, you got to just own up to it, right? We're all adults, they're adults. Apologize. Say, hey, look, mom's got some stuff going on with her and has nothing to do with you. And if I go off the handle, don't take it personally. We, the parents as adults, if we do say the things we wish we hadn't said or act in ways we shouldn't have acted, we have that option, to always apologize to our kids and let them know and explain. And I think that just, again, opens up conversation. Or you can just do I mean, there ain't nobody in my house that doesn't know when I'm having a hot flash. I'm like dying. I'm sitting there like nobody can talk to me. I'm like, get me a hot, get me, water, get me, uh, an ice cube, but that's what you can do, right? Can somebody get me some cold water, please? Okay, why? Oh, I'm having a hot flash. You don't have to say anything else more, but the word is out there floating around, right? Maybe they do their own research about it. If you start to normalize these topics, they become normal. That's really, I guess, ultimately what I'm trying to get at. Most likely anything. So I think the best thing that people can do for women in their midlife years and the menopausal years is to just to really like just see us for who we are, where we're at, to just to get it, for them to take the time to research and educate themselves, so that they get it, and it's up to us to provide the direction for them to find that information. Most people are not, most husbands, kids, bosses aren't going to seek it out for themselves, but we need support. And so things like maybe, if you like the idea of maybe getting legislation, if you're one of those people, and working on something like that, that could be a way that you could take the reins and start changing things, or just start right at home. Right. Just the other day, I wish I meant to, I just can't. I was trying to think of it before I started here. It was just some TV show I was watching just the other day. And again, there was the comment about like the menopausal, biatch, and it just annoys me just to no end, that that's how society continues to portray us, when it's so obvious that most women 50 and over are, that may have been years past, but most of us are really doing our best to live vibrant, exciting lives. And that's all what this whole midlife mojo is, right? And I know that if you read my bio, it says that I'm a champion for women, and that I do my best to kind of fill in the gap, that missing place, and so that where women don't get to have that voice, being that voice. And so I'm bringing all of you guys along for my ride, by doing what you're doing, by you doing your own research, by putting into practice the things that you're learning from me and from other people, by going out there and sharing what you're learning. You're making a difference. Like, you are the action takers, right? You're the ones that are going to lead the change, and so I really am grateful for that. And for those of you who do not have my books, or you're interested in some other products that I may have, you can head over to mygilllabofsky.com and click on the aroma sharing store. I'm actually going to be changing that store over to my regular Midlife Mojo store. I'm going to be changing it back July 1st. But right now it's called the aroma sharing store, and everything in there is discounted. And if you use, let me see, I think I can put this up here. Hold on. Do, do, There it is. All right, jillabosco.com. And then if you go to the aroma sharing store, and then when at checkout you put Got Mojo 10 in, you will get a 10% discount off of everything on top of the already discounted products. So I hope that you do that. And so that was it. That's what I had for today. It was just that this topic had kind of, I had written this article for this reporter, and I thought it was a really, good topic that she had brought up. This topic of, what we can do to help those around us support us as we need to. So that is all I have for today. But I hope that you have a great week, and that every Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 2 p.m. ish Eastern Time, you join me here for my Midlife Mojo Mondays. And that is it. You guys have a wonderful week. Lois, if you're still hanging there with me, thank you for joining me. Anybody else who's on live, I just don't see anybody, but if anybody else is on live I'm missing, or watching on the replay, thank you for being on here and just being here on the Midlife Mojo page. Have a great week, everybody. And oh, and don't forget, Friday, 11:30 Eastern Standard Time is the intermittent fasting live Zoom call. That is not like, you're not going to see like this whole background. That's a much more um, informal video. So we're all on there live. You can just bring your questions. I do not have a planned topic. I just kind of see the questions that have been asked in the group that week, answer anybody who's on there. We talk about whatever they want to talk about. I love to celebrate. So if have any, whether they're non-scale victories or scale victories to celebrate, any support you need, maybe you've got an upcoming event and you not need some advice on, whatever it is, join us. The more the merrier. Then we can all kind of get to know each other a little bit and see who are the ones doing intermittent fasting, and you guys can be a support, in the group for each other. All righty. Have a great week, and I will see you later. Let me